are doing a pre-recorded shoot so that later we can just chat while we knit together on Facebook Live or Facebook group rooms, whatever it is. But I wanted to tell you a couple notes about the pattern. I did not write the pattern this time, so hopefully it will be correct. I borrowed this from Ravelry. If you're not looking for patterns on Ravelry yet, you should check it out because it's perfect. There are lots of free patterns. Some are paid, some are in books. Some of the books we have here at the library, so you can kind of feel out how to find your patterns. This one says, holding yarn double, cast on 13 stitches. This is 13 stitches, so it's about 4 inches wide. I'm going to cast on 19 stitches, and it makes it about 6 inches wide. Now this is not super pliable, so you have to keep that in mind. Like, how wide do you really want it if it's not going to be super bendy? So just a thought on that. But like I said, I am going to do 19 stitches because I do want it a little wider. And what was the other thing I was going to say? I don't remember. Oh yeah, it has to be an odd number of stitches. So make sure whatever you do between 13, 19, I don't know, 33, it just has to be an odd number. So to get started, it does say to hold the yarn double. So what I'm doing is I'm pulling from the center and I'm pulling from the around of the same skein. The red heart yarn that you were provided is perfect for this because it literally has on the label, which obviously I've taken my label off, but it actually has on the label a little arrow that says to pull from the center this way or to pull from around the skein this way. So red heart is perfect for these kinds of projects where you're working in double. All right, so to work in double, we're gonna start together with the slip knot. So I wrap it around my 2 fingers and make a normal under, and then I stick my thumb in here and finish the knot by tying it around my thumb. So you're actually tying it around the yarn, but my thumb gives it a more, I don't know, obvious around. So there you go, you have both yarns knotted in. Tighten it a little bit and put it on. All right, and then we're gonna cast on 19, or cast on 18, I guess, from there. Okay, so to cast on, you're gonna hold your yarn between your index finger and your thumb, and you're gonna go over the yarn and then towards your thumb, back through. And then you have one cast on. We're gonna do it again, over and under, and pull it kind of a little bit tight, but you want it to be nice and loose. It should slip real easy on those aluminum needles. Then you're gonna do it again. It's an over and under, over and under. Don't worry if your yarn gets twisted in these loops, no big deal. Over, under. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Remember when you're counting them that your loops are double, so don't count like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Just count them as loops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Okay, so obviously it's not 6 inches right now, but it will spread out as we work. So just making sure it's nice and loose. It should slide pretty easily back and forth on your needle, just like that. To get started, the pattern says row 1, knit 1, and then purl 1, knit 1, repeat to end. So that means you're going to repeat what's in the parentheses to the end. So you're going to start with a knit 1. You put the needle in behind, under the loop, behind the other needle, so you have a crisscross. Bring your yarn around between your needles, and then using the back needle to pull through the loop. And then you have a loop. You have a loop on your working needle, so pull it off of the other one, just like that. And then it says to purl one, so you need to bring your yarn to the front before you stick it back in. And then, oh sorry, this is a purl stitch, so we're going to go from up here, and you're going to push your needle through in front and under the loop, keeping the knot on the bottom. You're through the loop, then you bring your yarn down around between your needles, and then you're going to pull it through just the same, only that's on the back now, and then off. Okay. Then we're going to knit again, so bring your yarn back to the back. The needle goes in behind, under the loop. Bring your yarn around in between. Bring your yarn back around for your purl stitch. Under the loop in front of your needle. Put the yarn between and pull it through. And then a knit. So you're just alternating back and forth every stitch. I think the most important thing to remember is bringing this yarn back to the front before you put it through the loop. So the front one is a purl, the back one is a knit. Lost that one. That's what happens. You just have to start over. Nice and relaxing once you get the hang of it. And of course, this would go a lot faster if we just cast on 13, so if you'd prefer to do that. My stitches are a little tight, that's why I'm having trouble getting them under the loops there. Not necessarily a good thing. So in that case, I just let a little bit more slide through my fingers as I'm making the next stitch, and that'll loosen that up just enough. And then ending on a knit, because you're purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit. All right, ta-da! There's your first row. So since you doubled up your yarn, this is really easy to see, even on the first row. You can see the purl here is a nice rounded stitch, and then your V stitch is the knit. Purl, knit, purl, knit. You can really see the difference. I think it makes such a lovely thick pattern. So, all right, row two. Row two, the pattern is written a little odd. So it says row two, purl one, and then knit one, purl one, repeat to end. So we're gonna start with a purl. So I'm gonna take my working needle and insert it in, down and in front, and then taking my working yarn, sorry, got my thumb right in the wrong place. So I'm gonna take my working yarn around the front and under for a purl stitch. Okay, and then we're gonna knit. So we're gonna take our yarn to the back, under and behind, and through. 1 on top and then row 2 is under that, but then 2 and 3 are the same, so they're on the same line. You're going to purl 1, knit 1, purl 1 again, just like row 2. So, even though this is a knit stitch here, we're going to purl into it. So you're going to go down and in front, bring your yarn under, make sure it's under, and then under and in front. And then a knit stitch, yarn back, behind. So it doesn't really mess you up unless you're looking at your stitches and you're going, oh no, that's a knit, but you're going to purl it. This is row 3. Don't let it trip you up. And then knit. And purl. All right, row 4. So row 4, you're going to go back up on your pattern. It says row 1, comma, 4. So that's row 4. Then knit 1, purl 1, knit 1. Repeat to end. So we're going to start with a knit. Under and behind. Bring your yarn around the back, between your needles. Under and through. Push the whole thing up here for a second. There we go. And then we purl. So bring your yarn around. Under and in front. And under. And we're back to the back. So in case you're wondering why I'm not fighting with my skein of yarn here, I have a whole bunch all pulled out to get started. I highly recommend this, although it's really hard to gauge how much to pull out at first. As you can see, it does twist around itself, but this should not be an issue. For the most part, you're just going to keep pulling it straight, just like that. Even from this side, you can pull it straight. It should not turn into a huge mess unless you have kids or cats. Then it might turn into a huge mess. My 2-year-old would have a heyday with this. Okay, so anyway, back to the pattern. I'm ready for a purl stitch, so I'm going to bring this around and purl. So any row except that 3rd row, you can kind of tell what stitch you're on based on the pattern, because this one we're just duplicating again. So the next one's a purl stitch, so I know I need my yarn in front. This works on row 2 and row 4 to just look at your pattern and follow it. I'm sorry, your yarn pattern and follow it. Alright, and you have 4 stitches. So you can't see it super distinctly here, but it's a 2x2. You have a purl, purl, knit, knit, and then it's just going to keep going. Purl, purl, knit, knit, purl, purl, knit, knit. So you'll be able to see it as you work. If you're in the crochet group as well, Cheryl uses those awesome stitch holders. This would be a good place for that, to put a stitch holder in right here so that you know that this was the 4th row. And then each time you get to row 4, you move your marker up to row 4 so that you always know which row you're on. I don't do that a whole lot. I just go by the pattern of the purl, purl, knit, knit. But if you're a beginner, that is a super easy way to hold your place. This little swatch that I made also, you can see it a little bit more. Getting the purl, purl, knit, knit worked in. You can kind of begin to see that. Red is maybe a little difficult to see, but some of you with the blues, that'll really stand out. So